several sequels, 2 Hollywood movies, and 2 television series. Now Mortal Kombat's latest installment is out, and we'll meet the game's creator in just a bit. It's one of the most popular fighting games of all time. The latest version has shipped over 1 million units in the last week alone. It's called Mortal Kombat Deception. Joining us now from our studios in Chicago is the game's creator, Ed Boon. Thanks so much for coming on the program, Ed.
Thank you for having me.
I want to look backwards for a second before we start talking about this game. When the original Mortal Kombat came out, it certainly caused some controversy. There was a lot of talk about how violent that game was. Looking now, over a decade later, how do you think your game stands up as far as violence goes with some of the other games that are out there?
Well, believe it or not, there are other games that Mortal Kombat's pretty tame compared to. I think back then it was a lot more of a bigger deal because there wasn't a rating system, but now there's a rating system in place, and it's pretty, kind of par for the course.
So this is number 6 in the series so far. Tell us what's different about this game than the last Mortal Kombat.
Oh, wow, where do I start? There is probably the biggest new feature we've added to Mortal Kombat Deception is online play. You know, people can actually play over the internet against other people across the country, on both the PlayStation and the Xbox. And we've got a phenomenal response to the online play. Hundreds of thousands of games have already been played in just a few days. And the addition of extra different modes of play.
Tell me this. I read a quote from you from, I think it was 1995, when you were coming out with one of the games, and you said, the arcade is really the test. If something does well in the arcade, then we know it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, at the time, the arcades were really big back in 1995, and now they're pretty scarce to find one with a lot of players in. And that's what we kind of added, the online component, was to find the competition that you want to play against people, anywhere in the United States. So it's actually a lot bigger of an audience now.
So there's also a new board game mode for this video game. How does that change things?
Oh, yeah. It's basically, we call it chess combat, and it's kind of like imagine yourself playing a game of chess, but whenever you have to, take a square, instead of, taking the square traditionally like chess, you play around a Mortal Kombat, and then that determines who's going to get the piece.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is in Harry Potter when they play the chess and they're swiping people off of the chessboard.
That's a very, very good description of it. It's kind of like a live chess game where you fight off them.
All right, and there are other puzzles in the game as well, right?
Oh yeah, there's a number of different modes of games. There's a puzzle game where you kind of play the traditional Tetris type puzzle game with Mortal Kombat characters. There's the board game, as you mentioned. There's a single-player adventure mode, and then there's the huge online component, which is really kind of like our showcase feature.
Who's playing these games? Originally, it was mostly young boys or males, and a lot of people who are getting involved in video games now are young girls. Do you think you've crossed over to across genders?
I don't think Mortal Kombat has really crossed over as much. I mean, we find a lot of girls like playing the puzzle game, which is really a fun side effect of this whole thing. But the average video game player is around 28 or 29 years old. So not many people realize that it's become the people who played video games back in the 80s and 90s. They never gave it up. They just continued playing and they got older, and so a lot of the games became more mature just to kind of follow them.
And the developers have gotten older, too. You came out with this first one over a decade ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago.
Do you think that your age growing up has affected the game at all?
I'd like to think that I'm still young. I'm definitely not one of the, probably older than the average video game player, but I still watch movies and all the media, so I think that's really our main influence in designing these games.
Are you surprised at the success of these games? Originally, when you created this, it was just supposed to be an 8-month quickie project, get it out on the shelves.
Yeah, you did your homework. Yes, I'm very surprised. What amazes me is this, like you said, is Mortal Kombat 6, and it's actually the fastest selling midway game in history. So that really took me by surprise. And so we really want to just kind of stay kind of mainstream, but this game is actually doing better than the previous game by 35%.
Are we going to be seeing Mortal Kombat 36 one day?
36, I don't know, maybe 20, you could say. Mortal Kombat 20 will probably see before in our lifetime.
All right, well, Ed Boon, congratulations on this new Mortal Kombat game. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you very much.